Hey guys, Penny here from Monaco Nail Academy, and over the next few minutes I'm going to be talking you through the pros, cons and differences between 5 different systems that nail techs offer in their salons. This video is inspired by a lot of our students. So our modules that we offer a manicure pedicure module, dip, hard gel, acrylic and polygel, and teach those systems. There are also things like soft gel nail extensions, also silk nails, linen nails, fiberglass nails, jewel forms, I suppose. They don't really count because they use something else with them. Anyways, there are a few extra bits and pieces, but gel polish, dipping systems, liquid and powder acrylic systems, hard gel and polygel are going to be some of the most common systems that you see around in the industry. And although we have all of those modules on offer, when our students first start, a lot of them get a little bit overwhelmed about what each system means. Like, if you've only ever had acrylics from a non-standard salon in the mall, then what the heck is polygel and what is dip? And yeah, so anyways, let's get stuck into it, and I'm going to start you with gel polish. So gel polish is like a lacquer system. It's just like all of the polishes that we have been using all our lives, which are traditional lacquers or traditional polishes. Well, in terms of how it behaves anyway. What it's made of is something very, very different. So normal traditional lacquers are made of pigment mixed with solvents. The solvents evaporate, leaving behind only the pigments and binders, and that becomes solid because all of the liquid has evaporated. Gel polish is very different. So gel polish is actually formed from acrylic monomers. It is technically a plastic, and those monomers react with UV light. They have a chemical reaction called polymerization, and they harden. So no part of it evaporates. So a traditional lacquer does evaporate and just leaves behind the solids. A gel polish has a chemical reaction that binds the molecules together and turns them into a solid with no part evaporating. Gel polish is much, much stronger and lasts a lot longer than traditional polish or lacquer, but it's also it's not such a professional only product now. There are at-home kits that you can get, but they're not that reliable, I guess. Gel polish is essentially infusing liquid plastic into the human body, and personally I don't think that's something that should be done at home. I think you should have proper training for it. Gel feels hard when it's cured or polymerized or hardened at 55%, but it's not actually totally safe to wear long term unless it's cured fully. So if you're working at home, you're not using products that you know and understand, then I don't know, I'm a little bit iffy about you being able to confidently know that your product is cured properly. Alright, so the other thing as well is that when you use traditional polish, you can just chuck a colour on, and although it looks better with a base and a top coat, like, meh, you don't have to do it. With gel polish, you have to. The base coat is formulated to be sticky. It has a double covalent bond, so it's attracted to the keratin in your nail, and then it will be attracted to the other acrylics, the other gels that go on top of it later. So the base gel is really, really important for adhesion. Then you have your colours, and with these, they're not particularly strong on their own, and they don't adhere well on their own because they're full of pigment. And for all those molecules of acrylic to bond together, we need nothing in the way. So because there's lots of pigment in here, they don't bond that well. They do a great job. Technology is really advanced, but you need those clear products either side to really have the strength and the adhesion and the shine and the power. Then you will always have a top coat, and the top coat is formulated for shine. So instead of being formulated for adhesion with a double covalent bond, the molecules are formulated to bond as tightly as possible, which stops light from refracting in the same way and gives you a really high shine. So you'll always have a top coat as well. Because there's no pigment in it, it will bind really tightly and be really strong and, yeah, just nice to wear. Gel polish can vary in how long it lasts, anywhere from 2 weeks to sort of 3 or 4. I will say though, it's not a goal to go as long as you possibly can without chipping. When a product chips, like if it peels, it was under-cured. If it chips, it is over-cured. And the whole time that you are wearing gel polish, it is very slowly curing a little bit more each day as you go out in the sun. So I would just say that you should always follow your nail tech's directions and probably go in no more than 3 weekly. You might be able to push it to 4 weekly, but realistically they're designed to be worn around 2 to 3 weekly. And if you go further and you go, oh, I made it 5 weeks before it chipped and I needed it to be redone, actually you made it 5 weeks before it over-cured. And when it over-cures, that chipping is because the molecules have bonded so tightly that they are pulling pieces of your nail up. Now, gel polish does not ruin your nails. None of the products that we're talking about today ruin your nails. What does ruin your nails is people. If products are put on incorrectly, looked after badly, or taken off incorrectly, then your nails will be ruined, because we have used gel, we've put monomers inside your nail. It's like Velcro. And if we soak it off properly, they all dissolve and let go and do their own thing, and they dissolve and disappear, and we can take it off, and your nail underneath should be exactly the same. If you pick it off though, if you wait until it chips and starts chipping away from the nail, any of those things, or if you rush a soak off, then yes, you're going to damage the nail. It's like saying that you stuck a wax strip to your leg and then were mad that the hair came out. It's stuck there. That's why it lasts so long. Another benefit of gel polish is though that it is instantly dry because it is curing, not drying. It's instantly dry when you leave the salon, so that is a major plus. But removal is best done by a qualified nail tech. You can do it at home, but honestly, you want to be getting someone who does it all day, every day to do the removal so that it's done safely and you do get no damage at the end. A dipping system is the blanket term for something like SNS. So SNS is a brand name for something that's very common. It was very common in non-standard salons, and now really lovely forms of the product have been introduced into high quality salons as well over the last couple of years. A lot of people think it's new technology. It's actually about 30 years old, and it sort of went out of fashion, then came into the non-standard salons because it was older technology, so it was a bit cheaper. And then because it became popular through non-standard salons, there was demand for different companies to make newer, better quality versions of it, and then now you see it sort of everywhere. So with dipping systems, what you get is a series of resins. So this is the artistic base and the artistic top. You will also have a prep product and also an activator usually. And so with dipping systems, you're working with resins. They're still acrylics, totally related to the gel polish and all the other products that we're going to be using. They're all acrylics. But with this, the resins are slightly less pre-polymerized. So essentially just less processed before they get put into the bottle. They are similar in consistency to like a super glue, and if you ever have a super glue that on the label it says it is a cyanoacrylate, so are these. So they're very closely related to a cyanoacrylate resin based glue. When you're working with dip, basically you take your resin, which again is the consistency of a sticky glue. It just looks like polish, but it is very, very sticky to work with. You apply that to the nail and then you dip into the powder. So for example, after preparing the natural nail, you very carefully, because you don't want to glue the bottle shut, brush your resin onto your nail, and then you dip into your powder, wait for the powder to attach to the resin, tap off the excess, and then go through and do all 10 nails the same way. When you come back after you have done 10 nails, the resin should have dried a little bit and you can brush off the excess. Generally you want to be doing 2 layers of the actual color, and then you're going to top coat it and it'll be nice and shiny. Instead of using a lamp, you use the activator. So activator is a catalyst essentially that is going to cause the reaction that solidifies or polymerizes the molecules, the monomers. So we don't use a lamp. The lamp is UV. It is for gels that contain photoinitiators and react to UV. But photoinitiators or UV reaction is not just an automatic part of an acrylic. It is something added. With dipping systems, that is not something that is added to them. Cyanoacrylates polymerize when they come into contact with moisture, and so the activator, which will be either in brush or spray form, acts as the lamp. It triggers the polymerization and makes this acrylic go solid. Dipping systems are a lot stronger than gel polish, and they do therefore though also take a lot longer to soak off. It's not too bad, but for example for me, if I want my soak off with dipping systems to be as fast as my soak off with gel polish, I need to thin it with an E-file before I wrap up the nails. If I don't thin it with an E-file, then the soak off takes quite a bit longer, but you do get a lot of extra strength out of it. So me personally, I often wear dip on my nails because I'm very hard on them. I don't make the time to backfill acrylics. I'm really bad at making time for my own nails. Dip is very quick and easy. It is generally an overlay system. Some places do put it over tips. Personally, I don't recommend it. I don't think that it comes out looking as nice as a different form of extension system, literally any other form of extension system, and it's not really strong enough to sustain a long extension. It is a really good natural nail product though, and you can paint over it, so you don't actually have to have lots of colors to start working with dip. You just need a clear or like a soft pink, and then you can paint over it with gel polish. So yeah, I really like dip. Oh, there's a couple of questions about the hygiene side of dipping into the same pot. It's definitely debatable. The pot is really dry and bacteria requires warmth and moisture to survive and grow, and none of that is in the pot. Plus, if you have followed all of the correct sanitization and disinfection procedures throughout your day in salon, there shouldn't really be anything going into the pot in the first place. But if you are concerned, and I will never ever criticize anyone that wants to take their safety and hygiene to the next level, like the more the better. But if you want to, you can sprinkle it on instead of dipping. It just means that your prices will raise slightly because you're going to have to discard the extra powder that falls off rather than it going back into the jar. So there's definitely ways of doing it really safely, and it's not a massive increase in price to have to accommodate the sprinkle method. It's not that big of a deal. Go for it if you want to do it that way. Hard gel is the first of our extension products. So hard gel is a thicker viscosity gel product. So imagine gel polish, but you've like half cured it. So it has been more pre-polymerized in the factory than gel polish, but it is very, very much related. Because of the way that it is processed in the factory, it's much stronger than gel polish and much thicker, meaning that you can safely create nail extensions and sculpt nails using it. It is an extremely thick, treacly consistency. So like it won't even necessarily pour out of the jar when you're working with it. Now, I don't normally recommend stirring your gel up like this because you'll fill it with air, but for the purpose of this video I wanted to show you what it's like, and this is the genuine consistency. So working with a nice clean brush, never ever do that to your gel, but working with a nice clean brush, what you would do is prep the nail completely, which I absolutely haven't done. Pick up a bead of gel and use it to form your extension. So you can do this over tips, you can do it over forms. You want to really massage the gel. All gels tend to be self-settling, so that means that they will change their shape as gravity takes over until the point that you cure them in a lamp. So with this, It is self-settling, meaning it will even itself out to a degree, but because it's thicker, it doesn't self-settle as quickly as gel polish will. And so you've got a bit of time to work with it and build up your nail. So you're really floating above it, because if you press into the gel too heavily, you just make big dents, and then when you pick up your brush, you make big razors and things like that. But you can get a fairly decent shaped nail. Actually, you can get a really lovely shaped nail, and then hard gels will cure in an LED lamp just like any other gel nail. Now the thing with hard gel extensions is that they are non-soak off. You have to file them off. There are soft gel extension products that soak off. So some of those include pre-formed soft gel extension tips. They're full cover tips that you'll see in one of our other videos either last week or next week. I'm not sure which order it's going up in, or there are soft gel extension products that you can sculpt with. So we just have this hard gel, but essentially this is a gel extension. It's very different to gel polish, and so when a new client messages and says, do you do gel nails, what kind of gel nails is the next question, because hard gel extensions, soft gel extensions, soft gel preformed full tip extensions, or gel polish. Most of the time you guys mean gel polish, but not always. Hard gel, so I've just cleaned off the inhibition layer. There's a sticky layer left behind, and after that cure, it's just a perfect finish nail. We will usually file it to just perfect it more, but generally speaking, like, that's finished. That is a finished nail. You can paint over it with gel polish. You can paint it over it with traditional polish. They are lovely and strong, but they feel really light. They feel very natural. You can't really use them to do big long stilettos or like funky shapes like that, because they're not as strong as liquid and powder acrylic. You can, but yeah, they're just, if you're quite rough on your nails, and most people with really long talons are quite rough on their nails by proxy, then it's not the product I would recommend for that. But if you want shorter extensions, more natural shapes like oval and round nails, then it's beautiful and light and very quick and easy for the nail tech to do. I think most techs have a preference, gel or acrylic, and they just tend to favor one or the other, but gel does tend to have better adhesion properties, whereas liquid and powder acrylic has better strength properties. So depending on your needs as a client, some products will be better for you or others. I wouldn't really recommend walking in and just saying you want what your friend down the road has. Ask your nail tech for their opinion on what's best for you. Liquid and powder acrylic is what you've probably most commonly seen in salons. I keep saying liquid and powder acrylic because everything I've shown you in this video is technically acrylic. They are all acrylics, and so they're all related. They're all the same thing. When people say they don't like acrylics but they want gel polish, you're being tricked by your mind. They're the same thing. They're all acrylics. They're all made from the exact same ingredients. And I use this analogy a lot with my students. If you take flour, butter, sugar, eggs, and mix them in this ratio and bake them for this amount of time at this temperature, you get biscuits. If you take the exact same ingredients at different ratios, temperature, and length of time in the oven, you get cake. That's what we do with these products, and biscuits serve one purpose and cakes serve another. If I got biscuits for my birthday, I'd be a bit disappointed. If I dipped cake in my Milo, I'd also be rather disappointed. They're all the same thing though, essentially. And so liquid and powder acrylic, which is what most people just call acrylics, is combined of, funnily enough, a liquid and a powder. So the liquid is your monomer. So it's liquid monomer. It's basically acrylic monomers in close to their purest form. And what most people don't realize is it's the liquid that's going to turn into the finished nail. A lot of people think that the liquid and the powder mix together, or that it's the powder that makes it solid, but it's not. The liquid is what turns into the solid nail. This is all of the loose monomers bouncing around waiting to bond when they polymerize. What's on the powder is pigment and the initiator. So the initiator with gels, was UV light. The initiator with dip was your moisture. The initiator with liquid and powder systems is something called benzoyl peroxide, and it is sitting on the outside of every little bead of powder. The monomer is a lot more expensive than the powder. If we wanted lots of colors of liquid and powder acrylics and we decided to color the monomer, that would be very expensive because we would have to buy lots of monomer. So instead we color the powder. It's much easier, it's much cheaper, and you can have lots of colors of powder. And then so we dip our brush into the liquid and soak up lots in our brush. I'm using the beautiful black crystal brush from Artistic. And then we dip into the powder. And because the powder is holding the initiator, the second that the liquid touches the powder, it's going to start polymerizing. So unlike the gels, this starts curing immediately. So we can then put it down onto the nail, a tip or a form, and manipulate it essentially. It is hardening before our very eyes, so you have less time to work with it. However, you can customize and manipulate acrylic or liquid and powder acrylic in way more ways than any of the other products that we talk about. This is the most customizable product. It is also the strongest product. And yes, it's the product that has odor. However, there are several different types of liquid and powder acrylic. And if your nail tech is using a reputable brand that uses an EMA based liquid and powder, then you shouldn't have too much of an odor if they also have a good ventilation system. So for example, where I'm sitting, I'm literally right next to a window. In our training studio, we have a massive extraction unit that cycles through 750 liters of air sitting right above the student desks. So ventilation is important, but EMA will not produce the same odor that MMA or methyl methacrylate acrylics do. And there are lots of reasons why you would want EMA nails and not MMA nails. This is not the video to go into them, but I want you to make sure that when you are getting nails done, I want you to look for EMA. This is Artistic monomer, and on the back you have the ingredients, and the very first one is ethyl methacrylate. If you see that word but it's methyl methacrylate, I don't want you to let that nail tech do your nails. MMA has lots of reasons why you just look. EMA is better. I'll do a whole separate video on EMA versus MMA, but I really want you to make good decisions when you're going to a new nail tech. Ask to see the monomer that they're using. These are your nails. They are infusing liquid plastic into your human body. And it is your responsibility as much as theirs to make sure that they're doing so safely by you choosing the right nail tech. So it's okay to ask to see their products. It's okay to look at the ingredients. It's okay to ask to see their health license. It is okay to ask to see their qualification. But yeah, ethyl methacrylate, good. That's what you're looking for. Liquid and powder polymerizes on its own. This one is still going. It's still a little bit soft, and it will eventually polymerize into a complete solid as the benzoyl peroxide reacts with the liquid monomer. Like I said, is absolutely the strongest product that you can get to make extensions out of, and so you can do lots with it. You can do super long, super sharp stilettos. You can do random shapes like edge nails and Russian almonds and lipstick nails and stuff like that. You can, like I said, customize more with it. So it is easier to do things like aquarium nails, to do color, to it's a lot of fun. The downsides are definitely the odor, and it does take a longer time to soak off, so there is that soak off time to take into consideration. But I'm a liquid and powder girl. I love working with acrylic. And like I said before, techs will always have a favorite. There'll be a hard gel person or there'll be an acrylic person. I'm an acrylic person. I just really love how much you can do with it, and how much you can customize, and how much you can change about what someone doesn't like about their nails. Like, you can fix every issue. if you use liquid and powder pretty much. It doesn't have as good as adhesion as gel products do. So there is that, but generally speaking, the technology is so advanced these days that adhesion isn't an issue. It's just that technically, yes, it doesn't have as good an adhesion. My love. It doesn't have as good adhesion as the other products, but technology is so advanced now that it shouldn't really matter. Mate, didn't think I'd get through that sentence. Lucky last for this video is PolyGel. So this is the most recent introduction to the industry. It's pretty much brand new technology. It's been around for a couple of years. PolyGel is another extension product. It is odorless, so the gels, the dip, and the PolyGel are all odorless. Its strength lies somewhere close to hard gel. Its adhesion also, I suppose, lies somewhere close to hard gel, although it's brand new technology, so automatically all of its properties are better. It's probably easier to work with though. So the thing with PolyGel is it is essentially sort of it's halfway between gel and liquid and powder. I'll show you in a second. But basically, with hard gel, it is running. It is self-settling at all times until you put it in the lamp. With liquid and powder, it is curing. You have a limited amount of time to play with it. So with hard gel, at least you've got lots of time to play with it, but you have to chase it. With liquid and powder, you don't have to chase it, but you also are running out of time. PolyGel solves both of those problems. It's much, much, much more like putty, which, funnily enough, that's why Artistic called theirs putty. So it's much more moldable, but this is not going to go hard until I put it in the lamp. But you can see though, it's not self-settling. So you have approximately 3 hours to work with a bead of PolyGel before it starts to change on its own. But it's really, really easily moldable. You work with it using a knife, like a palette knife, chopping off the bead that you want, which again won't move at all, and then on a prepared nail you lay that bead down, and on the other end of your knife is a brush, and we're going to dip this into shaping liquid. This is not liquid monomer. This is a totally different substance I have changed in my dip and dish. It is not odorless, however it's scented, so technically it's odorless. It's primarily isopropyl alcohol with some other moisturizing agents in it, and they have scented it, so it's a really nice fruity melony kind of scent and really quite lovely. You work with only a damp brush. This plays no part in the forming of the nail other than being a lubricant. The entire nail is sitting there already. So with your damp brush, you just manipulate the PolyGel. You can add more, which, I mean, I didn't really pick up a very big bead, so ideally I would add more. But you can also just work with a massive bead without worrying about it curing wrong or running like you would with liquid and powder or hard gel respectively. So you can work with a lot more product. With this, if I did want to add more, I would probably cure it and then add more because I find it easier. You don't ever really want shaping liquid to get in under the bead, or that's the one time really that you can get lifting issues. So for me, I would cure this and then add another bead at the back. But you get the idea, like it is totally moldable, and because you can move and play with it, there's not really any reason for you to not sculpt a perfect nail. PolyGel has photo initiators, which means it cures in a UV light, and the cure time is about a minute, so a little bit different to the gels, which are usually 30 seconds. Some other brands are 30 to 60, some even 90, but Artistic gels are 30 seconds, and then the PolyGel is 60. So PolyGel sounds wonderful. It has really great adhesion, it has pretty good strength, it smells delicious, and it's really easy to work with. I personally probably use it the least, and that's just personal preference. Essentially, it's just, it feels really soft. So it feels soft when you wear it, and I personally don't love that feeling. You can't do super long, super sharp shapes with it. The sharpness will wear down because of how soft the product is, but don't confuse softness with strength. It is strong, it's just also soft, and I like the feeling of the hardy nails because I am hard on my nails. PolyGel is super popular. It's really new technology, so it won't be in every salon that you see, but it's a really fun option. It's interesting because I suppose liquid and powder, you can probably make the most mistakes, and it is the hardest to file. Whereas hard gel and PolyGel, because one self-settles and the other you can manipulate for endless amounts of time, you make the least mistakes with them, but also they're actually easier to file. And I know it sounds like I'm not selling liquid and powder very well, but the versatility of liquid and powder is what makes it really fun. Alrighty, so those are not extensively the only 5 systems that you can use. Like I said, there are soft gel nail extensions that I will have in a video either before or after this one. There are also soak off soft gel extensions, moldable, like what we showed you with the hard gel, but they do soak off. So essentially they're the same, which is why I'm not really showing you. It's just that one soaks and one doesn't. Similar to dip, you can layer because the powder is where the strength comes from, the resin is where the adhesion comes from. I forgot to mention that earlier. But so similarly, you can layer fiberglass, silk, or linen fibers in with resin to get a similar strong natural result. So silk nails, linen nails, and fiberglass nails all exist. They're just very similar, resin and activators, along with something to make it strong. And of course, there's new technology coming out all the time. There will always be new options for nail techs. If you want to learn any more about any of the systems that I talked about in today's video, head over to our website, www.monaco.ac.nz, and if you have questions or reviews or recreations that you'd like to see here on our YouTube channel, tag me at Monaco Nail Academy on any social media. Before you head away and do that though, I'd really appreciate if you hit like on this video, and of course if you subscribe to the channel. Pop into the comments and tell me which of these systems you're most likely to try first, or which one surprised you the most. If you've made it this far, I really hope to see you in the next video.